ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. So welcome to our Saturday morning session. We will continue on chapter 7 of the Bhagavad Gita. We will start from verse 24, but I'd like to go on verse 23 once again, little bit, just to understand a few, words which are quite deep in that. We discussed little bit about this word अल्प बुद्धि. उन अल्प बुद्धि वालों का वह फल नासवान है. Now that is very important. अल्प बुद्धि has a variety of meanings. Firstly, those people who are looking for happiness in the world, in the physical objects. Those who are looking for happiness in the physical objects, they are alpa buddhi, because the physical objects themselves are not eternal. They are subject to decay. So obviously they cannot provide a lasting happiness. So that is one reason for that. Second reason is that day in and day out, we experience things. We acquire a new car, we become happy, and after a while, some neighbor acquires a bigger car and we become unhappy. We acquire a new house, and after a few months or few years, the neighbor, constructs a bigger house, better house, and we become unhappy. So, day in and day out, we experience that in this world, the physical objects are subject to decay and destruction. Despite that, we do not learn that they do not provide eternal or lasting happiness. So that is another reason they are called Laghu Chetsam, that when they have, Alpa Buddhi, their thinking power is not deep enough. So these are some of the reasons that the material happiness we obtain in the world is not lasting, it's shanic, it lasts for a while and then again it decays and actually becomes completely out of, it doesn't remain happiness at all. Sometimes it becomes unhappiness, it converts into a negative happiness. It's exactly like the what we call law of diminishing marginal utility in economics. It's precisely that way. So this is the reason Lord Krishna has said that those people who are worshipping devtas, because devtas are capable of giving you material comforts, they cannot give you spiritual comforts, and therefore those who are worshipping them, and by virtue of their worship, by virtue of their devotion, they are acquiring material comforts, they cannot have lasting happiness and they cannot attain me. So this is the reason we have to understand very well. Now, okay, we'll go in the next verse and then we will examine a new word which is very deep again. Verse number 24. बुद्धिहीन पुरुष मेरे अनुत्तम अविनाशी परम भाव को न जानते हुए मन इंद्रियों से परे मुझ सच्चिदानंद घन परमात्मा को मनुष्यों की भांति जन्म कर व्यक्ति भाव को प्राप्त हुआ मानते हैं. Now this is a very important statement here, that those souls which have taken avatar in this world, the Almighty, if He has come in the form of a human being, we normally consider Him as a human being. Why? Because simple reason. Even Lord Krishna was not considered divine in his time, except by a few people. You know the story in Mahabharata. In some cases, he was even insulted by some of the kings. The reason being, they feel that he is also like me, he has a body, he also feels hungry, he also feels sleepy, he also get tired, and he has the same activities as I do in my life. So what is very special about him? Now that feeling, it comes because of the ego we have in ourselves. We do not try to understand the divine element of these people, which are in the form of avyakt, which are non-manifest. Those forms which are non-manifest are not properly understood by the general masses. We have to understand the non-manifest behind the manifest. And that was the attempt Krishna made in the previous verses. When he said, मैं पुरुषों में पुरुषत्व हूं, मैं सूर्य और चंद्रमा में प्रभा हूं. Now the meaning of those things is that we should understand the non-manifest in the manifest. Surya and Chandrama, they are manifest. We know them. But the non-manifest is the prabha which comes out of them. Similarly, the Purus, the person is manifest, but the Purusatva in him is not manifest. In fact, the Purus also has two meanings here. Normally, we understand human being as Purus. But here in some of the verses, the Purus means the controller of the Pur, the city. Pur is a city, and Purus means the one who lives in that city and controls that city. Now we have this city of 9 gates, which is called Bodhi. Now that is Pur, because there are millions of habitants are living into that in that Puri. And we all know there are so many cells. Even science now tells that there are trillions of cells in the human body. So all these are habitants of this Pur. And in that Pur, the Purusatva lives, which is part of the divine, and that controls. So every time when we try to understand the non-manifest behind the manifest, then we can understand the divine. That is one of the very important requirements. When we see the manifest is coming, then existing for a while, then disappearing. For example, I am born, I was non-manifest before my birth. Then I am manifest for 60, 70 years. Then I die, I become non-manifest. So anything which was non-manifest before, manifest now, and will become non-manifest later on, it means that is not eternal. That is not lasting. That is not Shashwat. So this is what he says, that we should understand the non-manifest behind this manifest. So what is there behind me which brought me here, which keeps me alive here, and then when I leave the body, which goes away. That is the point which he wants to make in these verses, that we should try to understand, we should meditate that what is that non-manifest which brings these objects into being. They live for a while and then they are again dissolved into that non-manifest. So once we start observing that part, then we will understand this world properly, and then we will go beyond what the word here is used, मन इंद्रियों से परे. Now why मन इंद्रियों से परे? Because with mind and sense organs, we cannot understand non-manifest. Non-manifest can be understood only when we transcend the limits of sense organs and mind. So this is very important, and this is what he is emphasizing, and this is possible through the methods of meditation. It is not possible through sense organs, because sense organs are designed only to understand the objects in this world. The things which are manifest you can understand with sense organs, but things which are non-manifest, they cannot be understood with sense organs. So that is why we have to go beyond sense organs and mind. We have to transcend the sense organs and mind, and then we understand the non-manifest. So this is very, very important. And that is the reason he has given those examples, that what is non-manifest behind the manifest. Now in the next verse, he makes it again very clear. So we should not treat these avatars as normal human being. If we treat them as normal human being, it means we have not understood the non-manifest part of those people, and therefore we are again in the category of alpa buddhi, again in the category that we are confined ourselves to sense organs and the mind, which are not, capable to understand the divine. That is why I always say that spirituality takes you to unintelligible and insensible. Unintelligible and insensible are the two elements where spirituality leads you. If you want to go there, then yes. But those who are confined to the sensible and intelligible, then they cannot transcend that path of sense organs, and then they cannot understand the non-manifest. The verse number 25, अपनी योग माया से छिपा हुआ मैं सबके प्रत्यक्ष नहीं होता. वेरी क्लियरली, सबके प्रत्यक्ष नहीं होता. इसलिए ये अज्ञानी जन समुदाय मुझ जन्म रहित अविनाशी परमेश्वर को नहीं जानता और मेरे को जन्मने वाला और मरने वाला समझता. Now, this is a character of Brahman. This is the character of Paramatma. This is the character of Bhagwan. That he is, appearing in this world because of Yog Maya. He gets into Yog Maya and appears to perform a Leela. That is why when the actions are performed by such divine people, that is called Leela. Why Leela? Because they are acting in a theater knowing very well that they are not what they appear to be. Like a person is acting, say, Harishchandra in a theater. His name may be, say, Mohan. Now Mohan is acting as Harishchandra in the theater, knowing fully well that after the theater is over, he is Mohan and back is in house. So during that period of theater, he appears like Harishchandra. In the case of Almighty, during that period of Leela, he appears like an ordinary human being, but once the Leela is over, he is actually the divine eternal soul, which is everlasting, which has no beginning, no end, and which has no limitations of time, which is absolutely eternal in every sense. So this is what we have to understand here, that Yog Maya se. Now, Yog Maya is basically what? What is Yog Maya? Yog Maya is a power of the Almighty, which is Apara Shakti, which makes things appear as they are. They appear like solid objects. We see the walls and we see the stones and we see the rivers. They appear like solid objects. And that is the power of Yog Maya. Like even in the dream state, whatever we see, they appear like solid objects. But after the dream state, we realize that none of them were solid. They never existed. They were a figment of some sort of, imagination in the mind itself. The mind itself broke into two parts. One part was rest of the world and one part was myself. And as soon as the dream is over, it's all over. Similarly, as soon as the dream of this life is over, once we, leave this body in this world, we will soon realize that this was also a part of a dream state. It was a longer dream. That is a dream for few hours in the night. This is a dream for a few years in life. That's the only difference. But this is also a dream. And then we will realize that what we were experiencing as true objects were not really true objects. And that is what he wants to say, that all this appearance which see as real world is not real. They are real because they have been look like, they have been made to look like that because of Yog Maya. And that is the power of Maya. Ma and Ya. Ma means not, Ya means appearing. Though it is not existing, but it appears like it's existing. That is a very, profound power of the Almighty, but that power is uh, only to make this world run. This is the power to make this world appear real so that we remain engaged in this world. And as soon as we realize that this power is power of Yog Maya and we are circling in this world again and again, once we realize that, we will realize that we have to get out of this prison and we have to acquire real liberation and becoming one with the Almighty. So this is what he's saying here. Ki those people who are most of the people like us in this world, they do not understand him or his true nature, and they feel that he is like ordinary human beings coming and going in this world. He is like me. He also has the same body and same hunger and same thirst and same, he feels tired and he feels sleepy. So what is the difference between him and me? But ultimately, when the goat decides to come on this earth, he has to take some form. Without form, he cannot appear here. He has to take a form, and that form becomes his limitation. And because of that limitation, we feel that he is also an ordinary human being. So, this is what he's saying here. Now, verse number 26. हे अर्जुन, पूर्व में व्यतीत हुए और वर्तमान में स्थित तथा आगे होने वाले सब भूतों को मैं जानता हूं, परंतु कोई भी श्रद्धा भक्ति रहित पुरुष मुझे नहीं जानता. नाउ दिस ही ऑल्सो टोल्ड इन द बिगिनिंग ऑफ चैप्टर 4 कि आपके जितने भी जन्म हुए हैं मैं सबको जानता हूं. सेम थिंग ही इज सेइंग हियर दैट आई अंडरस्टैंड everything which has happened in the past, which will happen in the future, but the people who do not have approach of total surrender to me and total devotion to me, they cannot understand that. Now here I would like to explain these two words properly. What is bhajana? The word bhajana has come earlier. And what is sharan hona? Now, you see, bhajana is, it's not that sitting and taking your mala and making a jap, ram, 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 ram. That, okay, that is one way of bhajana. But real bhajana is doing it in the mind. Let's take an example of a mother. Now, a mother has a small child. You say newly born 1 month old child. Now, what if the child is resting on the bed, whatever mother may be doing, but her mind is all the time with the child. As soon as there's little movement of the child, she just goes and checks what is happening. So she may be in the kitchen, she may be preparing vegetables, or she may be doing some cleaning in the house or something else. But her mind is all the time with the child. That is real bhajana. Now, we may be doing everything in the world, but if our mind is all the time with the Paramatma, with the Almighty, that He is the one who is prevalent everywhere. who is living everywhere, then I think our thinking would completely change and we will be really doing a bhajan. That is bhajan. Sitting in a temple and doing bhajan, I'm not against that. It's very good thing. It's a good beginning. But ultimately, it has to go down to a level where you are all the time in contact with the Almighty. You're all the time appreciating its creation. For example, you see a beautiful tree and a flower, and you appreciate that flower and the tree, but at the same time, you appreciate what is behind it, the non manifest power, that is the Almighty behind it. We go and see a beautiful river and a beautiful lake, then we go behind that river and the lake and appreciate the power of the Almighty who has created all that. So, if we start doing that in our life, I think we will be really doing a bhajan. That is what bhajan actually means. Then we will not do any harm to anybody, because behind every creation, whether it is a human being or an animal or a natural force, we will always see manifestation of the Almighty. We will see the non-manifest power of the Almighty behind all those, expressions. So that is how we can do bhajan. The people don't have to. Even Kavira said that you don't have to go to, Kashi and Kaaba and anywhere else. You can do bhajan wherever you are, just by remembering the Almighty in your mind constantly. So that is the real bhajan. And then Sharan Hona. Now, Sharan Hona is not an easy process. Bhajan is somewhat easier than Sharan Hona. To totally surrender to somebody is not easy, because we all have ego, and that ego comes in between. That I also exist, I did this, I did that. This feeling is there. The I is deeply rooted in our personality. It starts from our childhood and then continues. So, Saran Hona means we have to understand a few things. For example, who gave us the birth? I did not come here on my own will. No, somebody brought me here. Who prepares my meal? I don't create wheat. I don't create maize. The rice is not my creation. The soil is not my creation. I don't do the rain. The food comes from where? It comes from the natural forces. It is coming from the entire creation. I cannot survive without that. No vegetable I can create. It is maybe I can grow, but I cannot create any of those things. These have been created. Who does the rainfall? Who brings the river? Not me. Even when we have eaten our food, I'm not sitting there to make it into the blood and flesh and bones and all that. It happens on its own. अपने आप हो रहा है अंदर सब कुछ. So who does that? So if we start contemplating in that manner, then the feeling that I am the doer will continue to reduce. Slowly, slowly it will reduce. And you will feel that I am not a doer. Things are happening in this world because of some unknown force. And that unknown force is the one, which is regulating everything. And I should surrender to that force. That feeling will come once we start feeling the reality of life. That I made my house, but who gave me the stones? Who gave me the cement? Who gave me the earth on which the house is made? Without earth support, you cannot make anything. So there are forces which are operating in this world, which make our living possible, which make our life possible here. And those forces are not under our control. They have never been under our control. Before our birth, these forces were operating. After we are gone, these forces will be operating. So we will stop thinking in terms of I, that I am the doer, I am the doer. That feeling will start going down and down. And then we will feel the pervasive nature of the Almighty all around. And once we start feeling that pervasive nature of the Almighty, that He is omnipotent and omnipresent, then our thinking will change. Then we will start surrendering to Him. Let's leave it to Him. You know, why should I get into the play? Why should I take any responsibility when He is doing everything? So that thing will come. And then we will remain confined to the duties which are supposed to be done by us. And that too, as a small little cog in the entire system of this universe. That I will then become very weak. So that is the surrender. That is called Sharanagat. Sharanagat hona ya Sharan mein jana. I think these two words, Bhajan and Sharan, these are the crux of this chapter. Because there are certain things we can never understand. We can never understand this world fully. Nobody can understand. A doctor who works on the eye whole his life, millions of doctors have worked, even they cannot understand even the eye, functioning of the eye. So how can you understand this world? There's so many facets of this world. So that is beyond our, normal, rational expression, normal, rational understanding. And once we go into that thinking process, then we will realize the power of the Supreme and then we will surrender to Him. So this is very important. That is why he's saying here कि कोई भी व्यक्ति जिसमें श्रद्धा और भक्ति नहीं है वो मुझको नहीं जान सकता. Now this comes, these are the steps. We have to do bhajan, then we develop shraddha. With bhajan we develop shraddha, and then we surrender. Or you can take it in other force that we have shraddha, then we do bhajan and we surrender, whatever way you take. But these are the steps which we have to perform to become one with the Almighty. In whatever manner we perform, sooner or later we'll have to do that. And I'm now, getting some experience because I meet some old people here and there. Yesterday I went to see somebody, and I see, the how rigid and how obstinate they become in their later phase of their life because they never experienced spirituality. They never surrendered to the Almighty. They always had that I am the doer, ego feeling. And so long as that feeling remains in the older age, people become very obstinate. They don't know what they are doing. They become completely unaware of their own behavior. It's a very strange thing, but it's happening. In order to avoid that, it is very important we understand the pervasive, all pervasive nature, Isa Vasyamidam Sarvam, that Paramatma ka nivas sab jagah hai. If we start realizing that, I think our behavior in the old age will be very, very good. And we will then surrender everything to Him. That is very, very important. So, Shraddha Bhakti ke bina, we cannot understand Almighty and we cannot transcend the limits of time. He is here saying that I knew everybody who existed before, who are existing now, and who will exist in the future. So that is called Kalatit, or some people say Trikaldarshi. Trikaldarshi means the past and the present and the future. He can see everything, all the three, modes of time. So if you have Kalatit, if you have Trikaldarshita, then that is possible only when you surrender to the Almighty. Even in Sikhism, they call it Akal Takht. Akal Takht means that you have gone transcending the limits of time. The people who have gone beyond the cycle of birth and death. Then verse number 27. हे भरतवर्षी अर्जुन संसार में इच्छा और द्वेष से उत्पन्न सुख दुख आदि द्वंद्व रूप मोह से संपूर्ण प्राणी अत्यंत अज्ञानता को प्राप्त हो रहे हैं. दिस इज ए स्टेटमेंट ऑफ द ट्रुथ. संसार में इच्छा और द्वेष दो चीजें. सुख और दुख के द्वंद और मोह, ये चीजें, these are very very important. uh, we all the time also say that काम क्रोध मद लोभ मोह, but ultimately it comes down, काम is इच्छा, क्रोध comes when your desire is not fulfilled. Mad comes when you become successful and you feel that I can do everything. That is the power of arrogance comes there. So it is all related to the desires, unfulfilled and fulfilled. If you are fulfilled, then you develop mad and you also become lobby. Then you become greedy that, okay, I can do more. This time I invested in the share market, 1,000 rupees, I could get 1 lakh. Oh, then I should invest 1 lakh and I'll get 1 crore next time. That greed also comes. The greed comes and the arrogance comes. Both come when you become successful in the world. And when you become non-successful, then anger comes that, oh, I did so much and I couldn't succeed. So, Kam, Krodh, Mad, Lobh, and Moh. Moh is the, the state when you are under delusion all the time. So here he is saying the इच्छा और द्वेष से उत्पन्न सुख और दुख. इच्छा होगी तो naturally सुख दुख होगा. When you have some desire, if it is fulfilled, you are happy. If it is not fulfilled, then you are unhappy. So naturally you will have either what you call pleasant situation or non-pleasant situation once the results are out. Similarly, dvesh is a comparative thing. Jealousy and the feeling of comparative study, because that is a normal human behavior. We compare, oh my, this guy has got the promotion I didn't get. I'm a better worker than him. This guy has become minister. He doesn't even know anything. He hasn't even studied in a school and he has become so powerful. Now we compare. We do not consider that I'm a separate entity. I have my own life and I should move forward. So the dvesh comes when we do comparison, which is very normal in human society. And all this dvand, the duality, the dialectic, the word dvand is, in English we call it duality and dialectic. All this comes because of the desire in the world. If we can get rid of the desire, then all this is also, like for example, I tell you my own thing. We were all wishing that India will win in T20 cricket. And when India lost, everybody felt bad and upset. Now in the final, India is not there. We don't have that feeling of upset and we feel whoever wins, doesn't matter. So that feeling comes when we are neutral, when we are not associated with XYZ. Once we have that association, the desire comes. And when desire comes, you get the pain and the pleasure. The emotions are always there. So this is how it works. So once you don't have desire, and you simply say that I have been sent into this world. I'm supposed to do certain activities. I fulfill my duty, and that's end of it. Then I think we will be eternally peaceful. We will not develop stress. So this is what he says, that Jadatar Prani, most of the people in this world have this characteristic. So this is a statement of fact. Most of the people have desires, they have dvesh, they suffer from dukh and sukh, and this is what Krishna says, this is agyanta. This is ignorance. This happens because we do not know the real nature of the Almighty. We do not know the real nature of this world. So once we don't know that, all this arises from ignorance, that is ajnana. And that is what he is stating, a fact which is all pervasive. At least 99.9% people are victim of this situation. Dvand mohan. Now this is the word they have used here, dvand mohan. Sarv bhutani sammoham. Everybody is under delusion because of this whole process. Now verse number 28. परंतु निष्काम भाव से श्रेष्ठ कर्मों का आचरण करने वाले, निष्काम भाव से अगर कर्म करेंगे, then you become श्रेष्ठ, then you become elevated, you become a soul which is, higher than the rest, श्रेष्ठ। निष्काम भाव से श्रेष्ठ कर्मों का आचरण करने वाले जिन पुरुषों का पाप नष्ट हो गया है, वे राग द्वेष जनित द्वंद्व रूप मोह से मुक्त दृढ़ निश्चयी भक्त मुझको सब प्रकार से भजते हैं। Now, once you are able to get out of this dualities of good and bad, pleasant and unpleasant, what is, gain and loss, uh, criticism and praise, once we are able to rise above these dualities, then our karma, then our actions become pure. Then we become what we call niskam. Then we are not desiring XYZ. So we become niskam. We become without any expectations. And therefore we become shrestha. We become, very, very elevated person. And that kind of situation will ultimately lead to what? Dhrad nischay. Then you have a strong resolution, you have a strong desire of becoming one with the Almighty. Not the desire of the world, but desire of becoming one with the Almighty. And then these people मेरे को भजते हैं, वो हमेशा मेरे को याद करते हैं। भजने का मतलब all the time keeping the Supreme in your mind. That behind everything you do, behind every result which comes, behind everything which is happening around you, there is a force which is all pervasive, which is supreme, which is, the Almighty Himself who regulates all this. Now, that feeling, when it starts coming, then we are close to the Almighty. We are almost one with Him. That's what He's saying. But that is possible only when we overcome the dualities. And the dualities can be overcome only through niskam action, without any expectations. Now, verse number 29 and 30th, they are very deep verses, but they have also been explained further in next chapter. But we will go into those briefly now. 29. जो मेरे शरण होकर जरा और मरण से छूटने के लिए यत्न करते हैं, शरण होकर, द वर्ड शरण हैज कम अगेन, जो मेरे शरण होकर जरा और मरण से छूटने के लिए यत्न करते हैं, वे पुरुष उस ब्रह्म को, संपूर्ण अध्यात्म को, संपूर्ण कर्म को जानते हैं। नाउ ब्रह्म क्या है, अध्यात्म क्या है, कर्म क्या है? This question will be raised by Arjun in the beginning of the next chapter. So we will discuss those issues in detail later. But right now we are concentrated on the first part of this phrase. That is, Jara Maran Mokshai. Jara Maran Mokshai Mama Satya Yattantite. जो लोग जरा और मरण से, why? You see, Jara means the old age. In the old age, we face all kinds of difficulty. Then we have the fear of the death. So these are the two big hurdles which we want to overcome. When we are young, we are flying in a different, sky altogether. We have all the great dreams and we are in a world of our own. We don't see the realities of life. But we see the realities of life when we come to the older age and then the death comes closer. So that is why he is saying that मेरे शरणों के जरा और मरण से छूटने का यत्न करते हैं. So people after experiencing the life in this world, Then when they become old and they are closer to the death, that time those people who come under my shelter, those who surrender to me completely, those people, they are ultimately able to understand what is Brahm, what is Karma, and what is Adhyatma. All that they are able to understand. So he is also saying here that these experiences come in the later part of life. First part, that is when we are in Vanprasth after 50 years of age. Because you have to experience the world first. Once you experience the world, then you understand that this world is only giving you temporary pleasures, pleasures which are not lasting, pleasures which are very, shanic, which are lasting for a few hours or few days or few months, then they disappear. So that experience is also the foundation before we can try to understand the eternal nature of the Lord, of the Almighty. So, Jara or Maran se. In fact, there are four types of pain which we all go through, which nobody can avoid in life. These four types of pains are called Janm. Before we are born, we are in mother's womb for 9 months. It is said that that is the most difficult prison in which you have to live for 9 months. And when you come out, that pain of birth is also very difficult process. So that is one pain in the womb and then the birth in this world. And that is why one feels, you know that is one pain you cannot avoid at all. Nobody can avoid in this life. The second pain is periodic illnesses. We may be extremely healthy, we may be observing very good, dietary habits and other routine of the life. Even then, some disease always come, maybe in lesser form, more. The intensity depends, but everybody has some disease in life. So that is the pain of disease, illness. Third is the old age pain, the pain of old age. When body becomes weak, your sense organs become very weak. Some people can't see, some people can't hear, some people can't eat properly, all kinds of, you cannot walk properly, people cannot speak properly. So all those, pains are experienced when you are old. And then the fourth pain is that of death. So the four important obstacles we have to face in life are the birth, the illnesses, the old age, and the death. These are the four dukh nobody can avoid in his lifetime. So this is what Krishna is saying here, that once you have experienced this world and then you go into the later age, in that age you surrender completely to me. As a result of that surrender, you start realizing what is Brahman, what is the real nature of the Almighty, what is Adhyatma, who am I, and then what is action or karma. All this you understand properly, and then you become one with me. That is what he's saying. And these words will come in great detail in the next chapter, and these are very profound words. We have to understand Brahma, Adhyatma, Karma, all that, but we will do that in the next chapter. The next verse, जो पुरुष अधिभूत और अधिदेव के सहित तथा अधियज्ञ के सहित मुझे अंत काल में जानते हैं, वे युक्त चित्त वाले पुरुष मेरे को ही प्राप्त होते हैं. Now there are three words here: Adhibhut, Adhidev, Adhiyajna. These will also come in the next chapter. But basically, Adhibhut is the one which is manifest. Anything which has been manifest in this world is called Adhibhut. Whether it is a mountain or a river or a human being or an animal, an elephant or an ant, a bird, whatever, a fish, everything which is visible, tangible, which we can grasp through our sense organs, is Adibhut. That is Adibhut. Adidev is the one which is basically the divine part inside us, the divine part which is controlling, and the Adidev comes only uh, primarily in humans, but also in animals in a limited way. But Adidev is the one which gives life and the thinking power, both life and thinking power. Now, life is also there in a plant and in animals, but the thinking power is mainly in humans. So, this Adidev is manifest more in human being. Very little part is manifest in animals. Basically, it is the divinity which we can feel that we are part of the divine. And Adhiyagya means that supreme who regulates everything inside and with whom you surrender, with whom you are wedded, with whom you are one. That is Adhiyagya. But we will understand all these three words in greater detail in chapter 8. Once you, this is a stepwise approach that Adibhut, then Adidev, and then Adhiyagya. Adhiyagya means you become one with the Almighty. That is like yog, yukt. That yukt, once you become yukt, that is adhiyagya. So these are the three steps which is saying that once you pass through that stages and then you are one with me, then you are Paramatma. That is what he says that Aham Brahmasmi comes at that point. Eh? Tattvamasi comes at that point. So these are the steps which he has explained. So with this, we complete chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita. It was a wonderful chapter, Yoga Shastra. It's basically Gyan, Vigyan, everything is, fully explained in this chapter. So this chapter is very important. I think we should spend some time uh, in our solitude and meditate over the contents of this chapter. This is extremely important. The chapter starts with, the eight powers which are manifest. That is Panch Mahabhut and then Man Buddhi and Ahankar. And then what is the Parashakti which gives us life force. And then he explains various manifestations of the Almighty, how the invisible force, non-manifest force, appears in various forces which we see in the real world, and then how we can proceed in that direction slowly, and what is that process of Shraddha, Bhajan, and Sharanagat Hona. So I think this is a wonderful chapter. And this one chapter alone is sufficient for us to become yukt, to become one with the Almighty. But of course, other chapters have many other dimensions which we will understand. Even next chapter is very, very beautiful as well. So thank you very much. If you have any queries, I'll try to answer them and then we will do our meditation.